employers that I interview with always ask the question, oh, I see you've worked in Ghana. Tell me more about that. The main problem facing the village is a really common problem in a lot of third world communities. The two primary sources of fuel used to cook with are firewood and charcoal, and people are having to spend many hours a day, typically it's women and children, collecting firewood. Meanwhile, there's this huge timber industry in Ghana because of the climate. So they cut down these really large hardwood trees, and as a result of this, these sawmills that do this have these huge mounds of sawdust just sitting there, and it's wasted them, so they burn it. The opportunity there is, how can we turn this wasted resource into something that it could be a free fuel for them to use, you know, in addition to wood, in addition to charcoal, to sort of help alleviate their economic and time burden. The idea of the sawdust stove is simply, you can pick up bricks or clay or anything off the ground, arrange it in a very simple pattern. You can pour your sawdust into here, pack it really tight, and just light it from the bottom with a piece of tinder, and from that you'd have a fire hot enough to cook any basic meal. So a lot of my friends ask me about PUC, and I always say the same thing. In my 4 years at UT, that 1 year I did PUC was by far the most rewarding experience. If I can sum up the best experience, the most I've learned from an engineering standpoint, from a practical standpoint, and from a sort of a cultural standpoint, would have to be PUC. For example, it made me appreciate more to think about the cultural aspect of any kind of project that you work on. Sort of, we have a way of thinking about things, but maybe when we implement a project internationally, people might respond to it very differently. And also, I think having the opportunity to work internationally while being an undergraduate, my first company that I'll work for, I already know for a fact I'll be working internationally from day one. So I think it gives me a very good heads up on people that I'm sort of working with. You know, I already had experience traveling abroad and working abroad with other people, being fully immersed in someone else's culture. So I think from that aspect, PUC really gave me a lot. No other class or program at UT can exemplify the idea of using your education to really help people outside of your community, people in need, people who really need engineering to help them in the very basic form of their life. So I think PUC is a very good example of what starts here changes the world.
So don't keep yourself idle.